Hi, this is Russ Reynolds again. I'm recording part two of a video I recorded a few days back. That video is it's been up for less than 48 hours, I think. Yeah, it's August 9th now. It was published on August 7th, and it's been viewed 2,507 times. The video was about what happened with my family's dog when we left him in the care of Matthew Meyers from Best Friends Pet Transportation. If you want to, that video is pretty detailed. This is a follow up to that one, so look for that one on my channel if you want all the details. But I went through basically really shoddy communication, the really shoddy communication, the disorganization, everything that we experienced working with this company, and how we felt that contributed to our dog's death. Our dog was healthy. Our dog was a little bit older, but definitely healthy, cleared for travel, still was able to run and play, had been on lots of road trips, dozens and dozens of long road trips all across America. So well used to moving vehicles, etc. Anyway, the details are all in that first video that you can watch. I'll try and link to it here. So that video went through the sort of showing the lack of communication and the just overall disorganization and why we felt the animals were in the vehicle much longer than they needed to be, much longer than they should have been, and how that carelessness and negligence could have contributed to our dog's death. I also went through some experiences of others, people who started to come forward after I posted about our experience, and let us know exactly what they experienced as well. So there's stories in that video if you want to go review those. This follow-up video is because I've continued to receive stories from other people, and I wanted to share some of those to again help you make your decision whether you wanted to work with a company like this, or what to look for when working for pet transportation companies at all, what to think about. So let me just close this side. So these all came in after the first video. Again, if you're thinking about shipping a pet with a pet transportation company, you may want to watch that initial video. And this is a follow-up to show you the extra communication that we received in. I'll see if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right, so and these were all sent publicly. This was a comment underneath the YouTube video. And I'll try to go through these quickly, but this person says, "I'm sorry for your loss. We used him as well and weren't happy. Thankfully, our dog survived the trip, but it was delay after delay with very minimal communication." This is a huge repeating pattern. And all these delays and all these minimal communication. You'll see that again and again. He blamed the issues on several van problems and the fact that he was trying something new. We were the first to have our dog transported using this new method where he picks up dogs in the U.S., meets Moises at the border, swaps the dogs in a Moises van. In video one, if you watch that, you'll see Moises was one of his drivers. Maybe he was, I don't know. And then Moises and another guy bring them the rest of the way. Many things didn't add up, and this is exactly what we found. He was clearly not where he said they were half the time, and the lengths of time to get from point A to point B just didn't make any sense at all. Like something that should took 3 hours took 17 hours, and so on. So this lady's confirming the exact same type of behavior. When we finally got our dog, approximately after 8 days, so can you imagine having your dog with in the back of a van or a church bus for 8 days? He was in major distress. Being a Great Dane, he was already scared of everything. Another dog traveling with ours barely made it. He almost passed away and was in poor health when they got him back. He says many good things. She's talking about Matthew. He says many good things to gain your trust and does the complete opposite. We were also told how wonderfully they treated our dog and that he let him ride inside the van instead of a kennel, which he claimed he very rarely does. And he said the same thing to us about our dog, Buddy. I'm sorry I had to go through this. Next one came in. This was also, this would have been in the YouTube comments as well. This person said, most of these are condolences, but this person says, "My heart breaks for you. I had a horrible experience with Matt as well. I'm so sorry Buddy and your family have had to suffer this way." So she just points out about a horrible experience. And then in a Facebook group, I think this one's pretty long. I've got a couple of pretty long ones here in a row, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. Adrian says, I use them to transport my dog and cat from Tennessee to Belize. I also experienced very poor communication, updates only if I texted and asked what was going on. It's definitely what we experienced as well. My animals were with him for 10 days of travel to go from Nashville to Belize. He told me it would take 5 days. Imagine that, 5 extra days in the back of, some kennel in the back of a fixed up church van or whatever he was driving at the time. One day I texted him as I hadn't got any updates, and he told me, they were in Maryland. When I got upset that not only were my animals not on their way to Belize, but over 1,000 miles in the opposite direction, none of which had been communicated to me whatsoever. When I dropped them off, I was told they'd be leaving for Belize in the morning. Matthew told me he goes around picking up dogs before he gets started, and I should know that he wasn't just taking my animals. I said, you told me you were leaving for Belize in the morning. No trip to Maryland, the opposite direction of Belize, was ever communicated, and I would have waited until he got back. Obviously, if this lady wouldn't have let her dogs go all the way from Tennessee to Maryland when she could have just met him on the other trip, and her dogs wouldn't have had to go through those extra days. That's what she's getting at here. She much preferred to spare animals thousands of extra miles in a crate, as she put it. He was very rude, Matthew was, and said that I should have asked if I wanted to know. I was like, I should have asked if you were by chance going to Maryland from a trip that was supposed to be from Tennessee to Belize. So again, this is like a pattern of not informing people, poor communication, causing animals to be locked up and in hot circumstances longer than need to be. So after her animals were with him for a total of 10 days, and many of those days she had to practically threaten a bad review to even get a response, as her health certificates were due to expire. And she'd only packed him 7 days of food for a 5-day journey, right? So she's doing the right thing, packing an extra 2 days of food, but now he's even 3 days longer than that. And in the first video, if you watch that, you'll see that a few people have said that they've felt that their dogs weren't fed. That seems to be another recurring pattern. They did appear to be in a normal condition for such a long time traveling, so she's lucky that way, although they did have lots of extra food, meaning I think she means it was left over, even though she only sent 7 days worth of food and they were gone 10. But I assumed maybe they weren't eating as much due to the journey. The entire experience was very stressful. And the lack of communication once I dropped them off to the surprise trip in the wrong direction to Maryland to go 5 extra days took them to reach Belize. I drove my animals to Tennessee instead of having to pick them up in Chicago in order to spare them the extra days. So she was trying to spare them and ended up, the opposite. Skipping through just for the sake of being brief in this video. The entire trip he was very vague as to where they actually were, and we definitely experienced that as well, and how long it would take them to arrive in Belize. It seemed like he never wanted to actually give me a location. When I would ask, he'd say a small town somewhere that I would have to Google to figure out where it was, maybe. I was also told I'd get daily updates and pictures, but I only did if I asked what was going on. So yeah, we didn't get any pictures at all of our dog in 2 days. The only picture we received was when I demanded one of his body to make sure that he really was passed and that it really was him and that they still had him. As for this, not showing, not being forthright with where he is and how long it would take to get there, we definitely experienced that over and over and over again. And you can see that in video 1. He never did, never wanted to tell us actually where they were, where he would be. And I've since learned that, there's a lot of things I've learned since that I can't even share in this video, but a friend had air tags on her dogs, and she had two little dogs and air tags on both of them, and at one point they were 3 miles apart. I don't know how that makes any sense, that the 2 dogs would be 3 miles apart. That's not simply walking them. She never did find out. In retrospect, she probably would have checked her air tags the whole time, and obviously she wasn't watching them every minute, but she probably wishes she would have now. So if you do use a pet relocation company, transportation company, I would advise you to get air tags so you can at least see where your pets are. We certainly wish we'd done that. Every time I asked, I was told it should be tomorrow the next day, and every day I would ask and be told it would be the next day and the next day, until I got very angry and demanded to know what was going on. Then I was told that they would arrive the following day before noon. It was such a bad experience. I thought I would never see my animals again, and that he had sold them or something. We thought the same thing, or we wondered what was going on, just because it was so weird that he wouldn't respond to us. In his transportation service has so many glowing reviews, and everyone I talked to in these police Facebook groups had nothing but wonderful things to say about Matthew and his pet transport service. I definitely asked everyone many questions about their experience. Yeah, it's same with us. And so what we've learned since then is that first, if there's any negative reviews that I've witnessed personally, negative reviews, go on his Facebook page and he just deletes them because it's his Facebook page. He can do that. But what I've experienced is that until my first video came out, so many people are just they're concerned about. They thought as long as their dog made it, maybe it was just them, and he made so many excuses that they thought, it was just maybe a bad trip, and they were just relieved that their dog was okay, and they left it at that. Some people fear retaliation because maybe they live close to him, and I respect that. But now that my first video came out, so many other people are coming forward, which is great. Obviously, it won't bring back our buddy, but I do hope that other people will be very careful who they choose and not suffer the same kind of fate. However, after seeing what happened to your dog, I regret that now. It seems like my experience is more calm than I thought, and I'm terrified now of what my animals might have went through for those 10 days after hearing what happened to your dog. Sorry for your loss. Thank you. And these are the texts that she's referring to. So she dropped these in a Facebook group. She didn't send them to me privately. I think I covered everything, that message that was in these texts kind of thing. And delete a message in there. He does that a lot. Deletes a lot of messages. So as you can see in the first video, I'm not really sure what that's about. Sorry, just scrolling through here. I don't want to miss anything. All right, so this was another lady who posted named Gail, that posted in Roatan Pet Lovers group, commented, I should say, under my video that I posted there. And she says, I used Matt a year ago to transport my 2 dogs from Honduras to the USA. His communication was horrible. He was never even close to being on time, ever. So as you can see, this is totally a pattern. I dropped them off with his business associate, Charlie, in La Ceiba, which was changed to the plan. And this is another pattern, changes to the plan. The plan is never the plan when it comes to Matthew Meyers and Best Friends Pet Transportation. While I was en route to drop them off because Matt was running behind schedule, Charlie picked them up and took them to his house, which I did not know that's happening. Of course, that's terrifying. Some person you don't know that you didn't contract directly is taking them to their house. It was not what you signed up for. I left them tied up outside, not in an enclosed area, and my dogs got into a fight with his 2 dogs. So now you're taking dogs potentially from America, maybe who are used to being in the house, I'm not sure, and then tying them up outside in the heat, and then left a fight with 2 other dogs. One of my dogs got over a collar and ran off. After a month of nothing happening, almost no communication, I went to Honduras to look for her. So imagine this, a month her dog is missing. So she has to fly to Honduras to look for the dog, and with the help of wonderful friends in Roatan and the people of La Ceiba, she did luckily find her dog. Honestly, it was a miracle, but Matt was absolutely no help. Neither was his business associate, Charlie, who lost her. It cost me many, many thousands of dollars. It would have been cheaper had I chartered a plane, and honestly, Matt never really apologized for the whole situation. Can you imagine? He doesn't apologize for losing her dog for a month, and her having to spend thousands of dollars and fly down and get the dog. Not to mention the whole worried sick for a month about your dog. Was lost in the bush, starving, who knows, heat, bugs. Who knows what happened to the dog in that month? So again, he never apologized, which is another pattern. And this goes on. This is like a crazy story. Stories, she says, the stories I was told. A gang had her. Charlie and his buddy went to get her. They were ambushed by the gang, robbed, and the buddy, I think she means Charlie's friend, and the buddy was stabbed. They went to SPS, but I had to take I'm not sure what SPS is, but I had to take an ambulance back to La Ceiba. His buddy was in the hospital. They needed money to pay bills. Charlie wouldn't provide any documentation related to the hospitalization. Weeks go by, and the buddy is doing okay. And for a month, she was worried. She was sick with worry over her dog, so she decided to go down, as we mentioned already. She gets Charlie's number and calls him. And of course, his buddy is dead, and Charlie now has to look after the family. And I think what she's getting at is that, he's not any help either in looking for the dog. So Matthew's no help. His business associate is no help in looking after or finding the dog. Seriously, such BS. Last year, after I'd gotten home with my dog, I saw Matt had a post on Instagram saying he was using air tags that he'd never lost a dog. I posted a comment calling him out on it. It was a lie because sure, he'd lost my dog. Well, my comment was deleted. Again, another pattern, deleting on any negative truth that comes out. Thankfully, my story has a happy ending, and I'm so sorry to hear about your buddy. It's just so heartbreaking and senseless. Thank you. This is another person who reached out to me this morning, and another unbelievable story, and she wanted to be anonymous, which I respect. So she says, we sent our dog with Best Friends Pet Transportation from Nashville also to La Ceiba about a month ago. Again, this is August 9th, 2024. I'm recording this, so this would have been in July at some point, I guess. Our dog is about 60 pounds, and he's 9 years old, but was in perfect health before he left. Well, we knew he does have separation anxiety. Nothing could have prepared us for the shape he showed up in. We also sent Matthew with gabapentin from our vet for our dog just in case, and Matthew said he wouldn't need it, that the dogs are always fine. Gabapentin's a medication that is often used to help settle dogs, just in case you're not familiar. About 5 days into the trip, we found that our dog wasn't eating. The 5-day trip turned to 12 with very little communication. So again, 5 days in the trip, they find out the dog's not eating. Why wouldn't they find that out? If I had heard that about my dog, I would probably have flown wherever I was to get him and make sure he was eating. And of course, the bigger concern is probably not drinking as well, or potentially. So, and then the 5-day trip turned into 12. So another pattern here, right? And with very little communication. Again, that pattern from Matthew. Only one photo update at the very beginning of the trip, even though he promises daily photos and videos. When we were finally able to pick up our dog, Matthew had sent him with some other guy to La Ceiba, again, this business associate. He thinks it's the same one that lost the poor other lady's dog that I just went through. When he arrived, our dog had to be lifted out of the car. He literally couldn't walk. He didn't recognize us. He was so disoriented and panting like crazy. He also looked like he had lost 30 pounds. He also had large wounds on both of his legs. Truthfully, he looked as if he'd been in the street for 12 days, not in the back of a van. We rushed to get him on the ferry and back home. The first night was terrible. We truly thought he was going to die. The fact that he couldn't walk makes us think he was kept in a crate the entire 12 days. I suspect that about our dog as well. It was horrific. He's doing well now, thank the Lord, but he just as easily could not have made it. I think that trip shaved years off his life. Apparently we didn't do enough research either. Anyway, thank you for sharing your story publicly. We had never heard any bad things beforehand, so hopefully other owners will see your post and choose to go another route. That is the end of this part 2 of the video. As you can see, these are really serious things. It's not that we're the only person that lost a dog and we're just mad about it. Of course, we're devastated about losing our dog, and even more so that we suspect that there's some negligence that contributed to it. Of course, we're livid about that, but you can see the patterns established here. People getting their dogs back. In the first video, I showed other people who said their dogs came back smelling of urine. The cages were filled with urine. Another person said his dog had suffered with heat stroke. You can see in this video they lost dogs. communication is shoddy, no pictures being sent, delay after delay, 5-day trips turn into 10 days, 5-day trips turn into 12 days, being 1,000 miles away from where you thought there'd be. There's just so much here. So I really want, I hope I don't have to make a part 3 to this video. I hope that that's all the people that are going to come forward to complain about this company and share with their experience, just because I don't want that many people to suffer. But again, I'm providing this information with our experience and sharing experiences others have shared with me openly, and in hopes that you'll do your own due diligence when you choose a pet transportation company. Thank you.